This is the review for another Kickstarter project that I backed. I'm a sucker for these things. This is the See.Sense icon lights, which are intelligent and connected cycle lights. As I said, they launched on Kickstarter and have just started shipping to backers all across the world. And I wanted to review them because actually I'm fairly impressed with the end result that has come from the project team. The lights themselves are incredibly bright. I went for the Icon Plus range, which are 30% brighter than the standard range, but these lights provide 2 times 210 lumens at the front and 2 times 125 lumens on the rear light. They come as individual lights for the front or the back, or you can buy them as a pair. The other thing about these lights which makes them slightly different is that they are, as the packaging suggested, connected lights, which means that, as with all things these days, it comes with an app. Now the app is there to provide extra functionality for you to program the lights in terms of how they flash, but also to set up an alert number to notify people if you are in a collision. So there's a sort of collision detection system, and then there's also a theft detection system, so that if you have the lights on a bike and you activate the theft detection, if it senses movement, it'll alert you to the fact that your bike or your light is on the move. So pretty useful functions. Predominantly I bought these because of the brightness, and I'm going to show you the units now. This is the rear unit. As you can see, there's a sort of bug type look to it. It's got a removable rear mount, which also acts as the cover for the USB port, which goes in there, and it's then got these plastic clips here on which you can mount the light onto your bike using these rubber bands that go around the seat posts or the front posts. As I said, the lights are very bright. I'm going to turn them on in a second, but you need to be slightly wary. I'll probably direct it away from the camera. The lights can be turned on by using this single button here. They look really good actually. They're not particularly heavy, and they are also obviously weatherproof as well, which means you don't have to worry about it when it's raining and stuff like that. So I'm going to turn this red one on. I'll just turn it on the side there. About a 3-second light. And as you can see, it's flashing pretty brightly. If I just put that there, it's now one press makes it go static, and you can see it's pretty light. So that's the rear light, and then the front light itself is here. It also comes with a light cover, which I think is more a sort of, I'm not quite sure, but my understanding is it's to direct the light more forward for the front light. So this is a sort of removable plastic surround for the light. Again, comes with a rear USB cover, which also acts as the groove for the mount itself. I'm going to turn this light on. I'll just put it into full mode, and you can see it's again pretty bright. I'm going to show you some footage of the lights on a bike itself, so actually mounted, and I'm going to also show you the mobile app. So I'm just going to take you through the mobile app now. The app's available for iOS and Android, so covers most of the market. And it's a fairly simple app at this stage, but I'm no doubt that they're probably going to increase the functionality and stuff with time. So I don't know if you can see that, but the initial screen is just blank, and up here you've got a scan button. So if I hit scan, then I can see both my lights appearing when I've hit scan. Okay, and then I can go into either of those lights to change the settings for whichever light it is. My only criticism here is I can't tell which light is which, so I don't know whether I'm managing the front or the rear one, which is slightly confusing. So I'd like the ability to be able to change the name so I can identify the light easier. Anyway, if I hit connect on the top one, you'll see that it goes away, connects via Bluetooth to the light, and then I've got a variety of settings here on the app to be able to configure it. which includes the flash modes, the flash patterns, the brightness level, the theft detection, the crash detection, so I can turn that on or off. And also there's something about the firmware, if you want to update the firmware, which in fact when I received these, I was instructed to update the firmware immediately. So that's all fairly well and good. If I go into, for example, flash mode, I just press that, so now I know it's dealing with the red one. I can press that button and toggle through the flash modes. Now, to be honest, at this stage I think that's fairly pointless to do this through the mobile app. A simple press of the button for me, much easier. So I'm not quite sure of that, the intention of that, having this on a mobile app. I certainly don't mount my phone on my bike handlebars, so I wouldn't have access to this app while I was riding, and I certainly wouldn't want to keep it up anyway, even if I did. But anyway, there you go. In terms of the flash patterns, I can change the flash patterns again using the button on the phone itself. Now that's probably slightly more useful in terms of just turn that off. That's probably slightly more useful in terms of any pre-ride, so I can set the flash pattern that I prefer, and then I'll likely just get on and ride the bike. The other key thing really about the app is it tells you the battery status. So up there you can see it's telling me that the battery is at 100%, which is great. That's actually quite useful. I think one of the issues with USB lights quite often is that you don't really have a sense of where the battery's at and how long you've got to go before you're going to find yourself riding in the dark, which has happened to me on one occasion rather desperately, but there you go. As I said, you can set the brightness level. There's a slider there that lets you set the brightness level, and then you've got the theft detection, crash detection, and then the firmware update. If I go up here into settings, I've got a crash alert number here, which I can set a mobile number, and I assume that well, the idea is there when you have a crash that number is alerted that something may have happened. What I haven't actually checked is the theft detection. So if I turn that on and then I shake this, there we go, I've got alerted on my phone that I need to check my bicycle. Okay, now one thing that I'm slightly concerned about, which again I haven't checked and I need to look into, is what happens if my phone is, right, I'll turn that off now. What happens if my phone is out of range of the Bluetooth signal? I'm assuming, given how quick that was, that happened over Bluetooth. And also there's obviously no GSM capability in here either. So it is relying on me having my phone with me, and it's then talking to the app via Bluetooth, which does put this into a fairly sort of limited theft detection type situation. So probably the idea being that if you're sitting in a coffee shop, you can probably use this, whereas obviously if you're leaving it at a bike rack and going to work, it's probably not going to work. So whilst those benefits are kind of interesting, I think we're probably only dipping the toe in the water of potential future capabilities for that particular type of system. The other thing obviously it assumes is that if you're riding along and you are in a crash, that your phone is with you and working and also in coverage, which obviously the coverage thing is an assumption that you've got to allow for. Obviously if you haven't got coverage, you haven't got coverage, but it does mean that you do have to take your phone with you, which I think is fine, because I can't imagine a situation where I would ride without my phone. It is one of the few things that I prioritise to take with me. Anyway, here's some footage of the lights themselves on the bike, so you can see how they look and see what you think. So I'm not sure if you can see this, but I've got the icons on my Langster, and it's flashing away now. I'm going to just get a bit closer because I can't quite tell in this light. It's obviously not very dark at the moment, but it's fairly bright and it's flicking there between the two LCDs. I'm going to just change the pattern, and you can see how that affects. There we are, slow, and then that's on all the time, and then flash mode. There we go. Okay, so it's toggling through. It's using both of the LCDs there. So that's the rear light, and I'm just going to go around to the front light, which is currently just flashing away. I don't know if you can see that. And if I connect to that, change the toggle mode again. Yeah, that's different brightnesses. That's just static, off, and flashing dual light. Okay, as I said, we're in the bright sunshine here, so I'm not sure that it's a particularly great example of how bright they are, but they are really quite bright, the lights, and should show me up quite nicely. In terms of the mounting themselves, let me just turn these off. Right, in terms of the mounting themselves, as you can see, I've mounted this on the front of the frame as such. The way that they mount is, I mean, we're going to have to see how stable those are, but the other thing I'm slightly not upset about, just it'd be nice to have had an option to mount them on the handlebars themselves. This mount itself, I can put it on that front bar there, but not on the actual handlebars. Unless I was going to put it sideways, but there's no real room there, as you can see, especially not with the Garmin there. So I've had to mount it down on the tube there, which I don't know. We'll have to see how that works. And then on the back, more traditionally, on the seat post, as you'd expect, it's quite well designed in terms of the wedge that goes into the USB that acts as a cover as well, because that's angled so that the unit itself is nice and straight, and it's not facing downwards. That would be the case if it wasn't on that angle. So I'm quite pleased with that. Obviously you need a high enough seat post or without a saddlebag, but I've got no problems on this particular bike, the way the saddle is set. So yeah, that's the See.Sense Icon Plus lights on the bike. So that's the See.Sense Icon Plus lights. I think the reality is this is where my summary comes to. Good lights, very bright, different toggle options, which gives you flexibility in terms of how you prefer to have your light set up. The mobile app is probably a bit of a gimmick. I cannot really imagine that I'll be using it that much. Having said that, on the, you know, if my plans change and I end up having to park the bike up somewhere, and I want to have that little bit of assurance that the bike is safe, then who knows, I would probably fire up the app and have the theft detection system going. Having said that, I would probably be inclined to take the lights off, because they do look pretty attractive and somebody might think that they're worth borrowing from the bike permanently. So I don't know is the answer. I can imagine being in a bit of a split decision as to whether or not to leave the lights on the bike if I had to leave the bike unattended, or to use the theft detection, or to simply take them off. The other reality is I doubt I'll be firing up the app to set the crash detection system ever. I just simply don't think it's something I would be using per se. But who knows, maybe I'll try it one ride and see what happens, but I just don't think so. But as it is, you know, the Kickstarter offer for the lights was a fairly good offer, pretty competitively priced, so I think I've ended up with a couple of really good looking, solid, weatherproof lights that have some extra capability that I may or may not use going forward. But yeah, do check them out. The website is See.Sense.ce, sorry, See.Sense.cc, and yeah, if you've got any questions or comments, then please put them in the description below. and I'll try and answer them for you, and check out my other videos. Thanks a lot.